Hey, Intermodal Trucker here. My name is Larry and we're at home. And as I promised you guys, I'm going to take you on a tour of my truck. It is, I think around 37, 38 degrees out. So a lot of the ice is melting and the yard is kind of a sloppy mess. But I've had this thing charging, the battery's charging on it since yesterday. I haven't fired it up yet, haven't messed with it. And I've been doing some thinking. I don't think it's been fired up since Thanksgiving. I know, that's bad on me. I think it was Thanksgiving. My brother was out here and he's like, "Is that thing even run yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I went in and I fired it up and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I don't think I've fired it up since. You really shouldn't do that. It causes a lot of seals to leak on some of the different wheels and the engine parts and components and stuff. The shafts will sit on the bottom of the seal and it'll kind of just wait. It'll sit there, and then it'll make it leak. It'll cause a flat spot in the seal and it'll end up causing a leak. So we got to get this thing fired up. It has been a while, and I'm not sure it's going to fire up, but we're going to give it a try. So we're going to get this going. See if she fires. I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a cold winter and stuff, and sitting here like this. Ice out here. And you can see the yard. It's just a soupy mess. And it gets like this every spring, and this is the reason why I don't bring my semi in the springtime. I don't bring my semi in here. Because you can see the few little ruts over there I made already. I'll flatten out all with the blade and stuff when it dries out. But I've actually gotten my other semi, my personal one, I've actually gotten it stuck out there, and I had to get somebody on a tractor to help pull me out of there. It actually buried it. Oh, and there's Mama Kitty. She's like, "What's going on? There's people out here." Wants attention. They were fed this morning. And somebody left in the comments about, you know, I was leaving food out for the cats while I was gone and stuff, trying to do that. And somebody left the comments, "Well, what about water?" Well, that there swamp actually has a creek that goes through it, and it's flowing. It doesn't freeze over. So they go down in there and they get chased after critters and everything, and they can get their water down there. I don't know if give them water, but right now there's water everywhere. So, well, here she is. It is a 2002 Freightliner Century. And yes, she was a Schneider truck. I bought it from Schneider. And it's a tricky deal when you buy them from Schneider. I was not comfortable when I bought it. When you go to buy it, you can't test drive them. You can't drive them up and down the road and take them for a test drive, because they pull the plates and the insurance off of them, and they don't have like a dealer plate, I guess. They tell you you can drive them in the yard. And that's all you can do. In their yard is all potholes and everything else. And so you can't really get up any kind of speed or none. I did not feel comfortable buying it. I talked to the guy, and we haggled the price and kept going down on the price. And he told me, he said, "Listen, I'm telling you right now that if you buy one of these, if you drive out of here and there's a problem, you give me a call and bring it right back here. We'll take care of it. Or we'll just switch out for a different one." I was like, all right. So I gave it a try. And when I left, it did have a real bad shake to it. And I called them up, and he told me to take it right back. And I drove it back, and they pulled it in the shop, and it turned out that the U-joints on the drive shaft were all pretty much worn out. And so they replaced all the U-joints throughout the whole drive shaft for me. Took it out, not a problem since. So I was pleased with it. And the purchase price, it was in 2006 when I bought this. And I paid $22,000 for it. So it was a pretty good deal. And, you know, and I leased on, when I first bought it, I leased on with a company that you guys know. It's called WEL. And that was John's idea from JBG Travels for me to come over there. And I did that. And I ran really hard that first year, trying to make some money back and everything. And I did. I made my $26,000 plus, you know, back. So first year was all paid off. Well, let's see if we can get this hood open. Oh. It's not like the new ones with the hydraulic lifts and everything on them. Well, there she is. That is a Detroit Series 60 motor. Looks like I'm missing my coolant cap. I don't know what happened to it. She's been a really good motor. I really can't say anything bad about this. I got this truck. It had, I think it was like 475,000 miles on it. And I got it, and I'll tell you right now that I made it to 1,000,000 miles, and I did no engine work to this truck. The only thing that ended up going out on it is I ended up replacing an air conditioner or an air compressor, and I replaced the starter. That's the only thing I did to this truck until I did the overhaul, and I did an overhaul at 1.6 million. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I pulled it apart, the pistons in it looked awesome. They were just awesome shape. I couldn't believe it. So, take her on. You can look at the other side. There she is. She's got a few oil leaks. You can see up there with the breather, the valve cover. Looks like it's got some oil leak going on. Not a big deal. Just tightening up things probably, and tightening a few clamps here and there. And I saw up here on the front end of it too, it's got some oil leaks right up in here. And then over here with the power steering pump, you can see there's some oil leaks. And that whole front cover, it leaks down over here too. I noticed that it was starting to do that. So, she needs some attention. Well, let's see if she'll fire up. I'm going to stick it all the way on 300 amp engine start. I don't know if she's going to fire. Cross your fingers. Cross your toes. Cross whatever else you got. Let's see if old Big Orange here is going to do it. I'm just going to leave the key on just for a second, just to let the glow plugs heat up a little bit. I do not have it plugged in. Probably should have been a wise choice. Let's see what it does, and then I'll maybe go from there. Here we go. Woohoo! Turn this charger off. Detroit 60. And there's that Detroit 60 sound right there. Let's see what we got going on here. We're going to have some annoying buzzing noises until the air pressure builds up. I was hoping it was the turbo seal that blew, and I pulled the turbo off, and when I pulled the turbo off, I noticed that the oil was up inside the intake, or the exhaust manifold, and it was coming out through the head. So I went, okay, it's probably a valve seal. You know, it's got 1.6 million miles on this engine. Oh, there goes all my air suspension. All my air suspension is, things are popping and the truck's raising up. I ended up pulling the intake manifold off, or the exhaust manifold, and the exhaust manifold was cracked. So I pulled it off and I looked in there, and sure enough, you could see 2 cylinders where there was this oil coming out. So I figured it was a exhaust valve seal or intake valve seal, something was like that. And I figured, you know what? It's got 1.6 million miles on it. It's been a really good truck to me. I decided I'm going to rebuild it. So I gave it a little tender loving care. There was some more suspension. and I pulled it down into my shop. I built this little temporary shop down here where I could be indoors, because I used to do everything outdoors here. But I was going to do an engine rebuild and everything, so I just kind of built a temporary little shop. And I put it in there and got it in there, and I decided to do an out of frame rebuild. So I pulled the engine block, everything out of the truck, got everything out of there. I pulled it back outside. I sandblasted the frame all down. I put new paint on the frame and everything, did a few little odds and ends, and then I tore the motor all the way down, everything. I tore every part off the motor. I went and got a complete rebuild kit, and I went through the engine and did a complete rebuild. And I'm going to tell you, when I pulled it apart, the pistons in this thing, they look like brand new. I couldn't believe them. I couldn't believe how good they were. The engine runs really well, and I'm going to contribute that to something. A friend of mine, he works at a dealership, and he's one of the smartest truck guys you're ever going to meet. This guy's been a mechanic for, I think around 28 years, and he's actually not that old of a guy, and he has just about every certification you can ever think of. And he's given me tips over the years. He's taught me a lot of things, actually. And his tip was, every 200,000 miles, replace the bearings. And when you say the bearings, what I'm talking about is the engine bearings. The bearings that are on the crankshaft and the camshaft bearings and everything. He said, go in there and replace the bearings. And I think that's what has kept this engine alive. And you think, well, that sounds like a lot of work. It really isn't. I can go in and put a new set of crankshaft and camshaft bearings in this truck, in this engine, and I can do it about, it takes me a little while, because I have to drain all the oil, and you gotta let it sit basically for a day for everything to drip the oil off. And then I'll usually drop the oil pan so it's just laying on the ground below the engine, and I let it sit there for about half a day. That way everything continues to keep dropping oil, because if you don't, and you go up underneath there, you're gonna come out with an oil bath. It's pretty bad. So you kind of do that to let all the oil get out. Then once you get all that, then you crawl up underneath the rig and you kind of wipe everything down, trying to get out the oil drips to a minimum. Then from there, what I will do is you crawl up underneath there and you just take one journal off at a time, put the new crank bearing up in there or whatever, and then they have these little strips that you put up in there, and you clamp them back up, and then you pull them off, and then you put it up to a gauge, and it tells you how many thousandths of space there is between the bearing and the crank. And you look at the book, and that tells you your limits. If you're within the limits, which I always have been, you torque them down, you lube everything up, torque them down, put them back in there. Oil pressure goes up real nice. There you go. And I have done that every 250,000 miles. I can keep a book about this truck. Every 250,000 miles, I replace all the engine bearing seals, or engine bearings. And it has kept it running really well. Now, I did an engine rebuild on this at 1.6, and right now it's at 2.35. I thought it was 2.6, but it's actually 2.35 million is on this truck. I ended up replacing the computer system in it, and I restarted the odometer. So this thing has 2 points, so it's almost 1 million miles. It's getting close to 1 million miles since I did the last rebuild. And I'm going to tell you that I feel comfortable with the engine, the way this engine runs. It has tons of power. It doesn't have the stock turbo on it. It has a turbo from Detroit, not from Detroit, Pittsburgh Power. When I did the rebuild, the manifold was cracked, and these engines actually get really good fuel mileage. These were awesome engines, and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, Cat's great." No, I know. I'm not here to argue with you. You can believe and think what you want to. I love these Detroit Series 60 motors. They run forever, and you can do some things to these motors that gets unbelievable fuel mileage. There's a guy on Sirius Radio. He has a show, I think it starts at like 11 o'clock at night or so. And the guy is all about financial stuff with trucking,
and he has his own trucking fleet. He talks about fuel mileage. That's his number one thing, is getting the ultimate fuel mileage. And I'm going to tell you right now, his perfect truck is a Detroit 60 series engine in it. There's so many different things that you can do with this engine. He has web pages and stuff where you can go on there and he'll track your fuel mileage and your expenses and help you with your business and stuff. He has guys on there recording getting 12 to 13 miles a gallon with this engine in a semi, hauling heavy loads. It's all on there. The numbers are on there and everything. And he gives you all these tips on doing stuff. In Pittsburgh Power, they work a lot with this engine, and they have figured out a lot of things with this engine. And I used to get about 6.2 to 6.5 in miles per gallon with this truck when I first started running it. When I put the turbo on there from them and I put their manifold on, it shot up to 7.6 to 7.8 miles a gallon that I was getting with this truck. There is so many other things that can be done with this truck with fuel mileage to get it up there. But like he says, getting 9 to 10 miles a gallon with this truck, like $5,000, it can be done. So it's the reason why I like this engine. Plus there's so many parts available for it because there's so many of them that were made. You know, so, and they're easy to work on. So that's why I like them. All right, enough talking, enough to try and convince you that Detroit 60 series engines are great. It's my personal opinion. I'm not trying to start a war. I know. But I do like these. Alright. What we got in here? It is a Freightliner Century Class ST. It's a pretty basic truck. I do not have a passenger seat. I took the passenger seat out because I don't carry passengers. And that allowed me to put a cooler down there, and I had a garbage can and stuff, and gave me more room. The dash and everything, it's been kind of busted up. This little deal right here was actually from when I was independent. I used to set my computer up on here, and I made this little stand here. And I used to set my computer up here when I was waiting for loads, you know, unload and reloads and everything else, or sitting in the truck stops at night. I used to set my laptop on here and I could sit here and do this. I didn't like sitting back in the bed and messing around with it. This seemed like more of an office up in here, sitting straight up, because I'd go lay in the bed and then I'd get tired and want to go to sleep and want to do my work. So I kind of made that to do that there, and I would just set my laptop on there. I'm missing this here. This is for my what do you call that? Your drive tires when you, I can't think at the moment. The little switch you flip that puts your drive shaft, it locks your drive shaft so both sides of the tires turn. It started leaking really bad, and it was like a month or two before I kind of shut this thing down. And I pulled it apart one day in a truck stop, and I just got this little connector here and tied the air lines together, and it just locks it where it's supposed to be. And I never use it anyways, and I was just going to order a new one, and then I ended up shutting down. Pretty basic truck. And yeah, here's duct tape. You know, John over at JBG Travel, he said I'm Mr. Duct Tape. There's holes worn in here from my hands where I grabbed the steering wheel. I needed a steering wheel cover. Everything else, it's just a pretty basic truck. It's got the Eaton Fuller 10-speed in it. And let's take it back here. I don't even know if my lights work or not. Let's see if I can, I can't remember how to turn the lights on in here. This one? Yep. They're real dingy lights. Here, let me see if I can get the back one on here. There we go. Yep, got all of them on. I have actually torn this whole thing apart. Originally, when I used to drive over the road, there was no bed here. I ripped this bed out, and this what used to be a double bunk. And what I wanted is I wanted something that was more comfort. And so what I did is I ended up ripping out the bottom bunk, and I used to have like this lazy boy type chair, but it was a real cheap chair. It was like a pipe frame, and it had this like little leather chair that went in between the pipes and stuff. It was stretched out. It was pretty comfortable, and it would recline a little bit. I used to have that sitting right there. And I ripped all this out, this whole base and everything, and took this bed out. And then I had the bed up here. And when I got done driving and I wanted to sit around or watch TV or chill out and relax, I would flip the bed up, lock it up right, and then I had all this room in here. And I had a chair in here. And then over here, I had my TV. This is an old TV. And I had my TV here and everything. And then this was for my sound system. There's actually a sound system built into the speakers. And I could sit up in here. And then I used to actually carry a PS4 with, or PS2 or 3 or whatever it was at that time. And I used to have it down here, and I could sit here and play video games. I haven't had this thing operational in a long time. But the new PS4 stuff won't even hook up to this. The hookups, there's no HDMI plug in or nothing. But then I built this countertop right here. You can kind of see it. I built this wood cabinet, put it in here, and it controls all my electronic stuff, the TV, all the different stuff. The sound system is in here. There's amplifiers in here to boost the TV signal and everything. And then I put a little cabinet down in the bottom to store my, you know, toothpaste, toothbrush, things like that. And then I built this cabinet down in the bottom. And I know you're looking at this going, wow, that is a small bed. It is. I actually had to cut the mattress off and I put the bed back down here. And what I do is I would always stuff like pillows and an old blanket down in there, and that's where my feet would stick into. But I'm going to rip this back out, I think. And then what I did is I built this whole cabinet. And you can see, since I've been around, I had a VCR in here. So that's when I put it in. I still had VCRs. And there used to be a door on there, but I ended up ripping it off. And then I used to have this huge power inverter built onto here. But it actually started on fire one night over in Minneapolis. I pulled it off and threw it out the door. It was actually smoking and starting on fire. But I have another one that I have that's mounted down. I have 3 marine batteries that are down below my sink over here. And I have this whole kitchen counter built up. And then I have a sink in here. And when I used to be over the road, I used to have a 5-gallon pail that was up underneath there with a hose to a 12-volt pump. And I had the hoses running out here. Anytime I wanted water to wash dishes or brush my teeth or whatever, I'd just flip the button and water would pop out of here and I could fill the sink up, do some washing. And then I have a drain that just goes on down through the truck. And it just goes straight down. I pull the plug and the water just goes right out the bottom of the truck and just goes out to the parking lot. And it worked really well. You know, it's not like it's some polluting and everything. It was just like water that I was like, brush my teeth or washing dishes, whatever. So it worked out well. And I used to have a microwave. You can see these little hooks. I don't know if you can or not, but there's a little hook there and there's a hook there. I used to have a microwave that sat there, and I had a bungee cord over it to keep it from moving around. And I had a microwave there, and I would always carry like a George Foreman grill and have that sitting on here. I could make my own food. I used to make all my own food in my truck. But that's it. That is my truck. And my plan is to bring this old girl back to life. When it warms up, I can't do it right now. There's no way I could get it down to my shop anyways. I'd get it stuck driving on through there and rutting everything up. So I'm going to have to wait till everything dries out. But when I get it down into the shop, I'm actually going to replace a bunch of different seals on the cover and the engine area and everything else. I'm going to go through the truck. I'm going to clean up the frame, put another coat of paint on it. It's not bad, but the paint is starting to chip a little bit and peel off in certain spots. So I need to do that. And then I need to go through the truck and do a few things like brakes. There's a few things on the engine I need to do. The air compressor is going to need replacement, which it worked really well. It just built up, no problem. It's got all its air pressure and everything, so I don't know. But I kind of noticed that when I was getting towards the end of, just before I shut this down, that the air compressor would always be running. It seemed like it was having a little issue keeping up. So I'll probably do that. Another thing that I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm probably going to end up repainting the truck.
It has some body damage on it. Up in the front right corner, I hit a deer, and it broke my headlight area, so I'll probably replace those with some LEDs. But the deer hit there, it flew, it turned around, and it hit right behind the the steer tire on the passenger side. Broke the fiberglass there, and it just kind of, the deer just kind of flung down my truck and just kept hitting. And it did there, and then it went back right behind, right in front of the real drive wheels, and it cracked that too. I've kind of patched it up to keep it from getting any worse, but I kind of need to do a more professional job on it. And then I'm thinking about sanding the whole truck down, primering it, and repainting the whole truck. And I'm thinking about letting you guys pick the color. So that'd be kind of cool. What I'll probably do is give you guys options, and then we'll see what you guys pick. We'll go from the majority or something like that. So as long as it's not pink, okay? I can't do pink. I'm sorry. But that's it. That is my 2002 Freightliner Century. I'll do more on it when it, when I get it down in the shop. I'll go through more detail and everything else. I couldn't believe she fired right up. I should have done a live video. I was thinking about doing it, but I was afraid I was going to turn the key and it was going to go, I don't want to start. And so then I would have looked stupid. But you heard the thing, just fired right up. That's pretty good. So she's running good. She sounds good. Oil pressure's down to just above 50. That's where she should be. That sounds good. Here, we'll give you guys a little taste of the engine running. Detroit. It's running good. I'm gonna actually get a little heat going in here. It's up to about 140 the temperature. Wow, I got some warm air. I'm probably gonna let this thing run probably for, I don't know, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But I am going to rebuild this truck. I am going to fix it all up, rebuild it. I have some decisions to make and which direction I want to go. If I want to go back independent again, which I am thinking I'm going to do. If I do make that decision, JBG Travels, you better watch out, boy. Because I got some ideas of making me some custom fiberglass camera mounts permanently on my truck, where I can pop a camera into it and it'll maybe be like a little NASCAR thing, or somehow to wipe it and clean itself and stuff. Whew. He has 16 cameras on his truck. I may put 18. But we'll figure it out. And when I pull it down in the shop, it's probably going to be another, I would say about a month and a half, 2 months before I get this thing out. I am going to actually, I will probably have an idea of what my future entails with this truck. But anything that does happen, even if I am not going to keep it and I'm going to stay a company driver like I am now, I'm still going to fix it up, and I will probably turn around and sell it. But I know a lot of you guys are like, why would you sell your truck? You own a truck, so why would? I know. There's different aspects that are going into it. So there's a lot of things, a lot of decisions. I'm really pointing towards going back independent. So there you guys go. Tour of my 2002 Freightliner Century. Used to be a Schneider truck. Oh, I got a question for you guys. Ooh, my window's not working. Oh, there it goes. That motor hasn't worked in 2 years. It's probably like, yeah. I have a question for you guys. I don't need to show you. I can just tell you. Here's the question. I have had a lot of comments on my channel. I've had a lot of people, and they say, dude, change your name. And it's probably something I'm not very good at, naming things. I came up with the intermodal trucker, and it's what I do, you know. But who knows what I will be doing in the future. I may go independent. I may actually not haul in intermodal. I'm thinking about it going independent and hooking up and hauling in intermodal as an independent driver. That's what I'm kind of steering towards. But who knows? But then I have other aspects that I do around here. You know, I do the snowmobiling. I mess around out here working on things and stuff like that. And a lot of people have been making comments they would like me to change my name because it's so big, it's so long, and when you guys type a message to me or something like that, it's a lot to type in, especially with like the email address, which I'm not getting emails from anybody. There is one guy that I get emails from, but it's intermodaltrucker@gmail.com, and I know a lot of people misspell it. They put an E instead of the A in it. But it seems like people have an issue with that. My trucking company that I used to own was called SBA Transport. That's Sam, Boy, Adam, SBA Transport. I'm thinking about changing the name of the channel SBA something. I'm not sure. I don't want to do travels. That's John's thing. SBA Life, SBA Lifestyle, SBA Adventures. I don't know. I'm terrible at naming things. So I want you guys to come up with something. If you think I should change my name. If you think I should leave it the way it is, then I'll leave it the way it is. But a lot of you guys have asked me to change it. It would make it a lot shorter. SBA. And what SBA stands for is it is my daughter's first initials. And that's what it stands for. So it's not Small Business Association. Because when I call up other companies, yeah, this is SBA, and they're like, huh? But it's my daughter's first initials. So it's my 3 daughters, and it's their initials. So it has meaning to me, and I'm just trying to think of SBA what, but I kind of want to make it simple. And I do have an email that has SBA in it, so I could do it that way. So I don't know. You guys come up with some names, put it down in the comments, and we'll talk about it. Otherwise than that, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up the tractor. I'm going to drive that down into the shed, which is going to make a lot of big ruts. Ruts and everything. But we need to get it down in there and hooked up and everything, get it down there so I can do some welding on this. And so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to let this truck just sit here and run and warm everything up. So until next time, guys, I hope everyone is having a great day. Oh, and by the way, I have a subscriber, Waylon. Waylon was in the hospital the other day. I don't know all the facts. I'm trying to touch bases and find out what's going on. But everyone, I know something about, had to get something with the heart or something like that. Had to get heart shocked like 3 times or something. Sounds like there's some rough moments going on there. Guys, if you do pray, if you do believe in God, I would like to ask you to remember Waylon in your prayers, and hopefully everything will straighten itself out and everything will get better in that aspect. So just remember Waylon, and having some problems with heart. I'm not really sure on the details yet. I haven't gotten a message back, but I'll be thinking about you. So otherwise than that, everyone have a great day. If you're not, we'll try it again tomorrow, all right?